Hello, welcome to Sturdy Belt and Holster Company channel. I'm Dave. I'm just making up some ammunition, some rounds tonight. I'm going to shoot an IDPA match this evening. I'm actually going to be shooting the classifier tonight, the IDPA classifier. So I have to make up some rounds to shoot. I'm going to do that on my Dillon Precision 550B. And I just thought it'd be fun maybe to make a quick little video of how I make 9mm ammunition on this machine. I've actually owned this machine for a number of years now. I think about 3 or 4 years I've had it, and I love it. I think it's a great machine. Of course, if I had the money, I'd probably get the biggest and baddest machine that Dillon Precision has. I think it's called the Super 1050 or something like that. But that's just out of my price range right now. So I'm just going to be content and happy with my 550. I reload a number of different calibers on this machine. I do both pistol and rifle. I just have complete heads that I swap out. In the machine right now I've got 9mm, but I also frequently reload for 45, 38 Special, 357 Magnum. The rifle caliber that I shoot most is .223, and I've got a whole die set for that as well. Switching this machine out from caliber to caliber is actually pretty easy and pretty straightforward. If you've got a whole new die set for your caliber, it's just a matter of pulling 2 pins and pulling the die head out, and then you may have to change a plate here at the bottom too. But it's not that hard. It's not that difficult. Takes maybe 5 minutes or less, probably less, to change between calibers, so that's kind of nice. I've been told by those who own the 1050, the biggest machine that Dillon has, that it's an awesome machine, but changing out calibers on that machine can be, you know, a real pain. If you're just shooting one caliber the most, and don't think you'll change it, maybe the 1050 is and you can afford it, of course. I think that's a $2,000 machine. But I like the idea of being able to come to the workbench and make up a bunch of ammo, so I don't have to do it again for a while. I'm one of these people that, even if there wasn't a cost benefit in reloading, I think I'd probably continue to reload. I just like it. I think it's kind of a fun hobby. It's kind of a nerdy little thing where you go into your recipe book and you figure out your loads and all that. I like it. I think it's cool. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna show on this video of my process is the first thing I usually do is fill the primer tube. Primer tube is this tube right here. All your primers sit inside of this tube. They're stacked up one on top of each other inside of this tube, and every time you pull this handle down, it will take one primer from the bottom and seat it into the primer pocket on your case. So there is a more expensive product that Dillon Precision makes, and that is an automatic primer feed thing where you just dump all your primers into this machine, and it, like, I don't know, it vibrates or spins or does something magical, and all of the primers go into the tube, into a tube, and they're aligned properly, and it's awesome. I don't have that machine. I just have one of their simple little primer trays. So I just thought I'd demonstrate real quickly what I do to get all the primers from the box oriented properly to put into the machine. So right now I'm using Federal brand small pistol primers. I guess these are kind of hard to find these days. I was just on a website not too long ago looking to replenish my stores a little bit of this stuff, and basically nothing was available. So hopefully that will change. So the primers come in these little cardboard boxes. So I'll show this. These trays, there's actually sort of a, they separate into two pieces. One piece has got like a flat surface to it. The other piece has got a like some ribbed lines in it, and that's what actually will sort of grab hold of the primer and get them flipped. So what I'll do is try to do this on camera. So there's my tray full of primers. I'll take the ribbed portion and I'll flip it. So all I'm doing is flipping it, and there are all my primers. I'm probably going to spill this doing this, but so if you can see, there's all the primers just rolling around on top of this tray. Then all you do is you kind of give it a shake. And what this, I don't think the lighting is so good, but what this sort of shaking motion does is it just orients all the primers so that they're all upside down. I don't know if you can see that. All 100 primers are oriented in the same position, and it's just when they rub up against these little lines that are grooved into the tray, it just makes them want to flip over. So then when they're like that, upside down, you take your other tray and you put it together like so, and you flip it. So now what you end up with is a tray full of primers that is oriented with the striking part of the primer facing up, which is what you want. Dillon Precision will also furnish you with these little primer pickup tubes. There's the diameter of this yellow mouth is made to fit this small pistol primer size. You can also get a larger primer tube for large pistol or rifle, I think. But that's, see, that's got a green one. I'll use this for my 45 ACP. So it's just a matter of taking this little tube, and you're just, I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but you just push down on the individual primers, and they get shoved up into the tube, and they're all oriented one on top of each other inside of this tube. And you do that until you've picked up all 100 primers. Alright, so I've completed the filling up of the tube. I have all 100 primers picked up inside of this tube. All that you have to do to get the primers from the tube into your machine is just simply place the tube on top of this primer tube, and then you just pull a cotter pin. And when you pull the cotter pin, all the primers rather, just by gravity fall down into the primer tube. Real quick, I'll show you what components I use when I'm making some rounds. The first is the projectile. This is a 125 grain bullet, 9mm, 125 grain. It's from Precision Bullets, and that's a company that's out of Texas somewhere, and it's pretty economical to buy. I think they come in boxes of like 3,000 or 4,000 in a box, and I think it's like, I want to say like 60 bucks per 1,000 or something like that. I honestly forget, but it's one of these companies that's making what is called a black bullet. It's some sort of moly coating that's baked on there. I shoot a Glock, so this is really, I'm shooting a lead bullet through my Glock, and because of this coating that they bake on there, I don't get all the problems that are associated with shooting lead through a Glock barrel. A lot of you guys out there know who shoot Glocks that because of the rifling on a Glock, the polygonal rifling, that you're really not supposed to shoot lead out of it. But shooting something like this has worked just fine for me. Your mileage may vary. Alright, and the powder that I'm using is a Winchester product. Winchester Super Target is the powder that I'm using. I know it's sort of an oddball choice of powder, but when you're shooting this style of bullet, you want a slow burning powder rather than a real fast burning powder. So I chose WST for that reason, and it seems to work out pretty well in my gun. I mentioned that the primers that I'm shooting are Federal, small pistol, and the cases that I use are I just pick up from the range. These are a mishmash of my own that I've bought and shot, and perhaps someone else's. I just, you know, when I'm loading, I kind of take a look at it and make sure that there's no obvious problems. So it's just range brass that I use. Okay, so what the different stages do. Before I do that, I'll just explain what I've done here. I saw this on a YouTube video, or I came across it somewhere, and I really like this little tip. This is what normally comes with the Dillon Precision loader. It's just this plastic tube that pushes down the primers so that, you know, they all sort of stay together and will be fed down. One little tip that someone mentioned is to take a 45 ACP case, and it's the perfect size to fit on the top cap here, and the extra weight of just an empty case really ensures that this plastic stick keeps it going down. So I like that little tip. Okay. I have made sure that all of my dialing in is the way I like it. I know that this is going to throw about 4.4 grains of Winchester Super Target. I just sort of dialed that in using my handy dandy little scale, and I know that the depth on my seating die is where I like it, and my taper's the way I like it, so everything's sort of fine-tuned already. I'm just going to show you what the different stages that I go through. So the first stage, you put the case into the first stage. It's got a spent primer already. You can see there's a little dent in the center where it's been struck by the firing pin previously. Put that into the first stage, and then pull the handle down, which rams everything up, and then when you go back down again, it'll deprime and it'll put a new primer in at the same time. So the old primer that was in there is gone. It falls out and goes into a little tray down here, and the new primer is placed in there. The one thing about the 550, when I bought it I thought, oh, it would be no big deal at all, but it's getting a little tiring, is that it doesn't have auto index, which means that every time I want to index it to the next stage, I've got to do that manually. So I've got to twist this around. It's not that big of a deal, especially if you're doing reloading one round at a time. This is a huge improvement to that, but already I'm thinking about how nice it would be to have a reloading press that has auto indexing on it. So this second stage that it then goes to is a couple things happen on the second stage. This die here is actually going to bell out the mouth of your case just a little bit, and what that does is it allows it to accept your projectile. Your bullet can seat in there properly, and it needs to just be belled out just a little bit to accept the bullet. So I'll just show you this second stage. Not only does it bell it out, but you'll also get your powder charge on the second stage. And then we auto index again. When it's under the third stage, this is where we actually put our bullet on there. This reloading press has this little tray that you can get. You keep your bullets there. You grab one, you put it on top of your belled case, like so. I was mentioning that Dillon Precision has a press called the Super 1050. One of the nice things about that particular press is that your cases and your bullets can be fed automatically. You don't have to do these things manually. You see that every time I turn the stage manually, I have to, with one hand, put a new case in. I have to pick up a projectile and place it. That has to happen for every time I put a new round in, or every time I pull the handle. I'm not as fast as other guys. I'm sure I've seen reports on the internet of guys doing, hundreds per hour or something like that. I'm pretty slow and methodical when I do it. I'm not in a huge rush, but one of the bigger machines would be nice to have, just because you can do, it just does so much for you. It's like a fully automatic thing. So anyways, if you don't mind doing a little bit of work yourself, it's not too bad. So there you can see that the bullet is just sitting on top there, and then when we pull our handle, it seats the bullet to the depth that you want. And then it goes to the fourth stage. And this fourth stage is where it gets tapered. So because we belled the mouth of the case open, we have to have a die that's going to sort of close that again. And you don't really want to squish, and you don't want to squeeze that bullet in there. You just want the walls of your case to come back to, instead of flaring out like that, you want them to come back to parallel, or to what their original you know, manufacturer specs were. So, and then when you manually index with this press, the completed bullet, the completed round, just sort of drops into a little bucket, and that's how it works. So I know this is a really basic overview of the press, and I know there's probably dozens of videos on YouTube that illustrate this very thing, but I just wanted to put out my own spin, my own understanding of what's going on with the 550. And if you have any comments, please feel free to send them my way. If you have any questions, that'd be great too. Please subscribe and like this if you don't mind. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.